All right. Hello, everyone. So let's all get settled down. Okay, so now welcome everyone and good evening to today's panel. Well, it was a panel, however, there have been some changes. So this is now considered DHHSC's live show. As you can see here on my screen, I have it in the upper right. Now, in honor of Deaf Awareness Week 2025, we will go ahead and introduce ourselves one-on-one. But again, this will be a DHHSC live show. The live show will contain discussions, and the discussions will start soon. However, there will not be any voicing for the continuation of DHHSC's live show, only during the introduction phase, the post-break transition phase, and at the end as well too. We did have planned for an interpreter for today, but due to unforeseen circumstances, there will not be any interpretation throughout the live show. So again, if by any chance we have any hearing attendees today, you can go ahead and email Lisa P at DHHSC.org after the live show has concluded, and within a week you will have a voiceover of the recording today. So again, there will only be interpretation now currently during the post-break transition and in closing too. We do want to be accessible to everyone. So again, that voiceover for the hearing attendees today will be available later on next week. One more time, Lisa P at DHHSC.org. I hope you all enjoy the show today as we put on a performance. Super exciting stuff. Now, let's get on with today's show. Again, this is a 2-hour DHHSC live show, and let's see if I've forgotten anything. I've touched on this, on that. Okay. We will also be gesturing throughout this live show as well too. So ASL will be incorporated into this. However, we will be signing at a slow pace, more gestures and more slow movements again for today. That way we're accessible to everyone. We can reach more people this way, and you all feel included. Hello, everyone. Hello. Okay, now you can see that there are 4 individuals online. We'll go ahead and start with the discussion for today. Currently, you can hear Edgar voicing for me. Thank you so much, Edgar, for helping me out for just a brief moment. You can go ahead and turn that voice off.
Okay, great. Well, welcome. I'm going to start with having everyone introduce ourselves. Let's start with Joshua. Hello, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Joshua, and this is my sign name. It's a J on the side of my chin. Well, tell us a little bit about your background. Okay, I am deaf and I grew up in a deaf family. There are 4 members of my family, including myself. Great. And how about Edgar? Please introduce yourself.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Edgar, Edgar. This is what my name looks like in sign language. And I grew up in a hearing family. I am also hearing myself. So that is the complete opposite from Joshua. The opposite perspective.
Thank you. And now, William, please introduce yourself as well.
So hi all, my name is William. My sign language name looks like this, W on the head, and I grew up in a rural family.
Great. And what about you? Are you deaf? Are you hearing?
I'm fully deaf, and I grew up in going to speech therapy. There was a lot of gestures, a lot of talking, but not much signing growing up.
Thank you. Perfect. Well, as you can see, we have 3 very different experiences here on this panel. We have a deaf person who comes from a deaf family where everyone knows sign language. We have a deaf person who grew up in a hearing family or a non-deaf family, and so they had to gesture with their family to communicate. And we have someone who grew up in a hearing family, and they're the only one who knows how to sign. Very interesting, right? Well, I am your host for this evening, and my name is Mariel. Mariel. And my sign name looks like this. It's an M below your dominant side eye. And I am deaf and grew up in an all-hearing family. I felt like I grew up in 2 worlds, the hearing world and the deaf world. So I have a little bit of experience in both. All right, perfect. Are we all ready to get started with our stories this evening? Okay. Let me check my notes really fast. All right. First, we're going to start with the topic of deaf myths busted. So, as you know, there are some common misconceptions about deaf people, such as the myth that deaf people cannot drive. So my first story is going to incorporate some sign and some gestures as I explain to you this myth being busted. One day, I was driving in my car along the highway, and next to me in the passenger seat was my friend. We were driving and chatting, having a signed conversation. And along the side of the highway, I noticed that there's a police officer sitting in the car, watching the cars go by. I drive past him, and then I notice in my rearview mirror that he has his lights on and he's behind me. So I pull over, and the officer gets out of his car and walks up to my window. He starts talking to me, but I signal to him that I'm deaf and I'm not able to hear what he's saying. I roll down my window and explain that to him, and he grabs a piece of paper and a pen from his chest pocket. He writes down a note and explains that he saw me talking on the phone and driving. And I go, hold on a minute. I'm not on the phone and driving. I don't even have my phone with me. It's in the back seat of my car. And he goes, oh. And he writes down a second note to me. I read the note, and it says, I thought you were on the phone and driving, but really, you were just having a signed conversation with your friend. Now I know that you were not on the phone. And I go, oh, okay. He writes down a third note to me and says, you are free to go. So I wave goodbye, roll up my window, and continue driving. I look over to my friend in the passenger seat, and she's just giggling away. But again, that's a common misconception. Do any of you have any other stories that you'd like to share? Who would like to start? Any raise of hands? Any more stories? I can't think of any right now.
Just any stories in general?
Anything, yes. Go
Relating to?
Typical questions that we get asked as deaf people, misconceptions of things that we can't do. Joshua, go ahead. Well, I have a memory from when I was a child. When I was a young boy in school, obviously I used ASL at home, and at school I used both ASL through an interpreter, and I learned how to read and write English. So I had 2 languages at school and 1 language at home. So I remember back then, when I was at school, I loved to write. I would write pages and pages for my assignments, but I remember writing away, and I understood everything that the teacher was teaching me and what the interpreter was signing. So I would fill out all of my assignments. I'd have correct grammatical structure, I'd have good word choice, and I'd turn in my work to the teacher. One day, the teacher was reading my work and was utterly amazed at what I was producing. The teacher came up to my interpreter one day at the school, and she didn't come up to me. She came instead to my interpreter. And my teacher said, "Oh, Joshua? Well, I was reading his work, and his writing is impeccable. There's no grammatical errors. It's very straightforward. It's clear. I understood everything that he was saying. It's excellent work. Everything is great about it. And he's deaf too. That's great." I had thought because he's deaf, he wouldn't be able to write. And especially because his family's deaf too, and they all sign, that he wouldn't know how to read or write. But this work that he's producing is amazing. He knows ASL and English. That's great. So my interpreter was hearing all this and was just absolutely puzzled. She was just thinking, that's not right. And so the next day at school, I walk into class and I see the interpreter. We greet each other and we start having a conversation. And then my interpreter informs me that yesterday the teacher came up to her and expressed how great my writing was. She was absolutely amazed with my work, my sentence structure, my word choice, everything. There were no mistakes, no inconsistencies. Everything was amazing. But then the teacher thought that because your family was deaf, that you wouldn't be able to read or write because you only knew sign language. And as I'm watching the interpreter tell me this story, I'm thinking, that's not right. Of course I know how to read or write. That teacher's stupid. She doesn't understand. So I just thought that was a funny story, that the interpreter and I were both like, that's not right. Right, that's a common misconception that people have, that deaf people can't read or write. But obviously, we can. Yes, that's true. All right, Edgar, William, do you have any stories that you'd like to add?
I'll go.
Oh, William, yes.
Yeah, I do have one. So I remember working as a forklift driver. And with some duties that come with forklift driving, I would have to kind of tell my peers that whether or not they were doing it correctly, if they had to move one a little bit more to the left, to the right, raise the bar, lower the bar, etc. I wasn't always the forklift driver. I started off as telling my peers what to do. So I'd tell them to go forward bit by bit, then raise the bars up from the forklift. And most of the time, it was just me helping them out. And I felt like they were a little bit unsure at times. And this is from what I've seen. This is from previous experiences, working there for many months, years. And my boss would suggest that I do it instead. And I was hesitant at first. And my boss kept pushing me, saying, "No, you can do it. I trust you." So then I end up taking over and putting it in correctly, doing the job myself. And I would always check in with my boss. And my boss said, "No, you're doing it correctly. Yeah, you are deaf. I trust you. We don't need to communicate. I feel like you and I can just gesture, and I can learn some simple sign language for you too." So I would start gesturing with them back and forth, communicating at work. I would use signs like these ones to indicate a box over there, or let's say a tower. I'd also gesture the number 7 in case that they weren't understanding me. And again, it wasn't just the one time, right? My boss would later come up to me at later times and ask me to move 3 things or 4 things. And so from there on out, I would just go ahead and do it. But again, we didn't use American Sign Language to communicate or even write back and forth for that matter. So I thought that was pretty neat.
That's great, having that new style of communication and being able to apply that to your work as well. Right, makes for a less stressful situation. Edgar, did you have something to share?
Yes. So many individuals believe that the non-deaf are pretty good at catching things, but I feel like the deaf individuals can catch even more. So for instance, there was this one time where I was interpreting for a hearing consumer, a hearing client, and a deaf client. I would usually be the third party, right? As an interpreter, I would listen to the hearing client and then produce sign language for the deaf client and vice versa. So whenever they say something in sign language, I would say it out loud. So as I go to many different assignments, I introduce myself, tell them my name, who I am. I'll be your interpreter for today, after some short introductions. And just a little bit about myself too. In general, I do like to chat it up with my clients before we start in any assignments or get the appointment started. Now, there are some variety with some deaf clients, right? Some like to chat more than others. And so as we're chatting, I'll get thirsty. So I'll reach for my bottle of water, get a sip, And what I've noticed is deaf clients will often react to that. They'll say, "Oh, did you say something?" And I'm saying, "Whoa, no, not yet. I'm just thirsty. So I'm just getting a sip of water." So that over time has influenced me. I remember that I had another assignment. I was meeting this new deaf fellow. We were chatting it up again, like we usually do. And then as the conversation got quiet, the deaf person moved their legs slightly. And after I had picked up that habit from other deaf folks, as soon as I saw a leg twitch or move, I reacted and I asked them, "Did you say something?" And the deaf person saying, "No, I just adjusted myself." So it's very interesting how deaf individuals will catch everything and anything.
That's so true. Like when I was driving, I was having a whole signed conversation, and the police officer thought that I was on my cell phone. That's true. I like that story. Thank you all for sharing. It's very true. Okay, next up, we have more interesting topics. Our next topic is called Through Deaf Eyes, Life Hack. And a hack could maybe be something that you use at the doctor's office, when you're ordering food, or you go to the bank, you're going through a fast food drive-through. If you're stopped by a police officer, like the story I just told, in all these different situations, I know that we face some different barriers and struggles. So if you have any ideas of solutions and how you would solve those different barriers, that could be considered a hack. Do any come to mind for any of you? I need some time to think about this. Okay, well, I can share mine. Well, we as deaf people can't hear when someone knocks at our door. So instead, I was thinking a life hack could be having a dog. So the dog can hear the door and someone knocking at the door, and they bark at the door, and when I see my dog barking, I then know that someone's at my door and I can let them in. That's a life hack. Are there any more that you can think of? Yes, William.
Yes, I have one. So for, let's say someone's at the door or the baby's crying, I usually hook up my phone with other devices such as Bluetooth or set up reminders for myself.
Right, like the watches. We know that our Apple Watches can vibrate.
Right, or they can flash too. I do have some flashing lights around my house to indicate when someone's here or for a reminder of sorts.
There you go. Is there anything else Edgar or Joshua want to add? Yes, Edgar.
Yes, so a life hack that I've seen.
Well, maybe an interpreter hack that you've seen?
Yes, a hack that I've seen before is, well, at one day I was at an assignment over at the Social Security Administration, SSA, and I remember that this appointment was during the morning time. Now, I know that SSA usually have long lines, right? Even at the start of the day, you'll see a long line out the door, or even before people start to get in. So a life hack that I thought of was deaf individuals can skip the line, right? If they come up to the front and they ask for some assistance, And of course, right, the interpreter will also have their badge as well. They can go up with the deaf client and kind of bypass the line. So they can go together and wink, wink, skip the line.
There you go.
There's a life hack for you.
There's an interpreter hack. Exactly. The interpreter can show their badge and say, oh, sorry, to get to my appointment.
Right.
Bypass that line. That's a good one. That is a good one. Joshua, do you have any? Any hacks that you have? I know you come from a deaf family. Sometimes I'll gesture with people. I like to have an interpreter around in schools, or I like to have an interpreter at school, and then at home, we are able to all communicate using American Sign Language, and that just makes communication easier. Oh, I have one more comment. Obviously, I grew up in a hearing family. And a hack that they all used was they had one person who was good at signing. And so as a life hack for them, they would explain everything to that one person, and then that one person would come and convey that information to me. So that could be a hack. Then they would usually pull that person if they needed to tell me something, and they'd communicate through that person. So maybe that's a hack, maybe not. But another instance I thought of was one time I was visiting a deaf family. And I was in awe of the way they communicated. Because everyone was signing, just like in hearing families where everyone is able to talk and hear each other conversing, in deaf families, it's maybe hard to see other people from across the room. So, as a life hack, they would strategically place mirrors around their rooms so that if they were not able to see a conversation from far away, they'd be able to look in the mirror and see it. So I just learned that. Different way of communicating. It is an interesting hack, having the mirrors. And I had never thought of that before. Hearing families and most families typically have maybe one mirror in the living room or something, but this family had several mirrors all around for ease of communication, and I really liked that.
Yeah, I like that too. Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, William, go ahead.
I also had another hack come to mind too. So from time to time, I do use FaceTime on my phone. And when I communicate with a non-deaf person, I'll go ahead and use live transcription. So whenever someone speaks into the phone or through FaceTime, then I'll have captioning there and then.
Oh, so then you don't have to use an interpreter, and it saves time.
Yeah, so that's a hack for you.
Oh, that's quite a time saver. That's a good idea. Oh, and what about ordering fast food? Do we have any life hacks for that?
I have one.
Oh, you have one? For ordering food?
Yes.
William? Oh, and Joshua. Okay, we'll start with William first. Go ahead.
So whenever the app for a fast food place isn't working, I usually take a couple of pictures of the menu, or I'll just take a picture of the menu item I want. So let's say menu item number 1 or number 2, and then I zoom in on my phone and show the picture. And that's where the worker gets the point.
Oh, so then you don't even have to type it out at all. You just take the picture.
Right, and it saves us from any miscommunication or any confusion. It's pretty straightforward.
That's a good one. I like that. I'll be using that in the future. Joshua? Mine was actually the same as William's. If I can't see the menu because it's too far away, what I'll usually do is I'll take out my phone, use the camera to zoom in on the menu and take a picture. If it's blurry, obviously I'll take the picture again. And then once I'm satisfied with the quality, I'll use the photo editor within that phone software and circle the menu item that I want. I do sometimes also type out my order if I want to customize it. For example, if I don't want onions, I'll mention that in my notes. Or if there's other ingredients that I don't want, I'll mention that. And then I'll show the cashier who's taking my order. And most of the time, it's smooth and everyone is able to understand. I've only had 1 or 2 instances where the cashier is absolutely puzzled and just completely lost and just in shock that I'm deaf and trying to communicate. But I'm trying to say, hey, the clock is ticking. I'm hungry. Can I please have my food? So that is one hack. My other hack is using the app for different restaurants. Like for McDonald's. Oh, McDonald's. Yes, McDonald's. I will use their app, place my order, pay through the app, and so all I have to do is go to the location and pick it up. I don't have to explain myself or type anything out because all of that is pretty time consuming, especially if people don't understand right away. So I can skip all of that and place my order from the comfort of my home, go down the street, pick up my order, and be on my merry way. That's a great idea. And now we have a comment from a YouTube viewer. Their question, it says, hello everyone. Do any of you like camping or hiking? If so, where is your favorite place to go? Do we have anyone who wants to start? Also, thank you for this question. Yeah, William, I see your hand first.
Favorite place to go would be Tahoe. Nearby Yosemite, in the Yosemite area, is very beautiful. You get to see a lot of different rivers, mountainous areas. It just feels free and calming as you walk through nature. You can practice many different hobbies such as kayaking, canoeing, bow and arrows, archery. It's a very beautiful place. Everyone should check it out.
Oh, Tahoe in Yosemite?
Yes, north of Yosemite.
Oh, gorgeous. Well, I'm curious. How do you feel like the setting influences you as a deaf person? I don't understand the question.
Yeah, I mean, well, go ahead.
Okay, well, my experience is that here in the city, you know, there's all the hustle and bustle. I feel like my eyes are always looking all over the place. They're on overdrive. But when I'm in Yosemite or I'm in nature, I can take the time to calmly look around, enjoy the scenery. There's no hustle and bustle, and it's less stress on my eyes. I can notice all the little details like the wee leaves in the wind. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'll add to what I said before. I could see the wind passing through the leaves in the trees, and I could also see them if they're rougher winds or lighter winds. I can also see the rivers down in the mountains too. I get a vibe for everything as I'm feeling the air basically. So if I feel a cool breeze during the fall months or a more summer heat, yeah, I feel like it's very calming, very distracting in a good way.
Oh, thank you for sharing and just learning how you communicate with your eyes.
Right? I see nature, nature sees me.
All right, does anyone else want to share their experiences?
I do. So, in response to that question, if I like camping or hiking just in general, uh, I've never gone actually camping before. So, I can only work with what I've seen. I feel like, yes, nature is very beautiful. I'd love to see some river action going on, some fish, bears. I'm not too excited about bears in nature. Bugs too, right? I know that there's a lot of insects like flies or mosquitoes. Um, Not too excited about that. The mosquitoes, I'm picturing it, and mosquitoes biting me, being itchy all over. So I'd have to bring bug spray on my trip, but inhaling that bug spray causing me to cough, I just feel like it wouldn't be a good time for me. That's what I'm picturing, at least.
I'll share. So I have gone camping before. When I was little, I would go with my family, particularly my aunt and her side of the family.
Mm-hmm.
Because her family loves camping as well as just general travel. So one time I was staying with her and her family for the summer. And we went camping. One time, we were next to a lake. It was a big lake and it also had a waterfall. And people were jumping from the top of the waterfall into the lake below. So I was watching all of my cousins and my aunt jump from the waterfall into the lake and resurface. And I was watching them do it over and over again. So then it was my turn. I jumped from the top of the waterfall into the lake and I didn't resurface for a while. A minute went by and still nothing. And obviously I can't hear what's going on. But my dad jumps in the water after me and starts looking for me. Finally, I resurface and I say, "Hello." And my dad, I guess, was yelling behind me, but I didn't notice because I couldn't hear him. He was yelling for me, but I couldn't tell. I just said, "Hi, Dad." And he said hi back, but showed that he was concerned. So that was my experience camping. I love looking at all of the beautiful nature just all around me. And honestly, when I'm out swimming in the lake, I can forget the time. And time will just pass and I won't even register. So, thank you for your question. Of course, if you have more questions on YouTube, feel free to type them out in the chat and I will read them. All right, moving on. I know that 3 of us here are deaf, and Edgar, you are hearing, but you're an interpreter, so maybe you've experienced this. Someone may be talking to us, but because we're deaf, we don't understand what they're saying. And we say, we communicate that. We say, hi, we don't understand what you're saying. Can you write it out or something?
Yeah.
And they go, well, you don't look deaf.
Happens every day.
Happens every day to me too. Why do you think that is? William?
Yeah, I'll go. So I remember an employee came up to me, started talking to me pretty quick, and I am trying to figure out what exactly he's saying. He starts gesturing to me, and then I tell him I don't speak. So we start gesturing back and forth. And he's talking to me. He was talking to me throughout the whole time for a good while. And he only stopped talking to me when I told him, well, I am deaf, so I have no idea what exactly you're saying. And so there was that pause when I finally told him I am deaf. So yeah, it happens. It happens all the time. Whether at work or out and about. Whenever at work, they usually like to guide me, or whenever I'm speaking to an employee, they like to guide me. So yeah, it happens all the time.
Right. And there's a difference between clients and work. Yeah, Joshua? Yes, I also have a story from work. So part of my job is that I send a lot of emails. And as I shared earlier, I am very well written. My English sentence structure, my grammar structure is very organized and nice. I'm very professional about my emails that I send back and forth and the email exchanges that I have. So, one time I was having an email conversation with someone, and then they came into the office. And they didn't realize I was deaf because I had just been emailing with them. And so when they came into the office to converse with me in person, they started talking to me and didn't even realize that I was deaf. I had to stop them and say, I am deaf. I can't hear what you're saying. And they stopped right in their tracks. They tried to start talking again, and I just reiterated, I am not reading your lips. I can't hear you. Can you please write down what you're saying? And so it took them a minute, but then they started writing down what they were going to say. So that was a funny misconception. That in my email exchange, they just assumed that I was a hearing person on the other end. And then when they finally met me in person, they were shocked to learn that I was deaf and I couldn't hear them. But thankfully, we were able to write back and forth. And they wrote a note saying, wow, you're deaf? Your English is beautiful. I thought you were hearing. Oh, it was so nice and professional. Oh my goodness. And I said, well, thank you. You know, I learned it in school. But that was just a funny story. Yeah, that is a funny story. Yes, William.
So at work, we'll communicate by text. So in case we need to send in voice to text messages. Yeah, you can see how that wouldn't work out for me. So I'll just have to text, or let's say use the walkie-talkie. But again, I can't use that walkie-talkie. So instead, we've resorted to, again, texting back and forth. Some people will notice that I'll have my hearing aids on during work, and so my coworkers will emphasize to others saying that, you know, he can't use the walkie-talkie, make sure to text to him. And they'll try to explain things to me too through gesture, and I get their point. But again, I can't use that walkie-talkie.
That's funny. I had a similar story one time. I was in a college class, and I walk in one day and sit down at the front. And the interpreter comes in and she's scanning the room, trying to figure out who is deaf, who's the deaf person she's interpreting for. And so she sits down and is just waiting for class to start. The teacher comes in and starts lecturing, and the interpreter starts interpreting, even though she doesn't know who she's interpreting for. And I finally look up and say, "Oh, thank you for interpreting." And she goes, "Oh, I didn't realize that you were deaf. You don't look deaf." And I said, "Excuse me?" She goes, "Well, you don't look deaf." And I go, "Oh, well, thank you. You're calling me normal then. Okay, keep interpreting." So then I took my notes. But I just look like me. You know? I don't get it. There's no deaf look, you know? We just sign and we look like ourselves.
Yes.
I'm curious, Edgar, as an interpreter, have you ever had an experience where someone has said, "Oh, you don't look hearing"?
Not really, no. I haven't
Not
had
yet.
any I haven't had any of those comments pop up just
Darn.
yet.
Give it some time. Yeah, maybe over time. As you
Yeah,
start
I'm
signing
sure.
faster and faster, people will think that you're deaf, maybe.
I'm sure. Well, actually,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I did. Now that I'm thinking about it, so I was at a doctor's office one time, and I arrived a little bit early. I was waiting on my deaf client to show up, and I continue waiting for some amount of time. And again, there is no deaf look, right? So all people look the same to me. There is no deaf look, hearing look. So anyway, I keep waiting. People keep passing me by, going to the front desk, and they start, communicating with the front desk employee. And then one individual ends up going to the front desk. They're having a hard time communicating, and that's where I go, I see. So then I go up to the front desk, interpret the messages for them. And then after all is said and done, we go back into the lobby, we sit down in front of each other, and that's when the deaf client pops the question. He asks me, "Well, I noticed that you weren't ready at the go. I'm deaf. You should have been already interpreting for me." And that's where I explained to him, "Well, I have no idea that you're a new person that I'm meeting for the first time. There is no deaf look, so how was I supposed to know you're deaf? I have no deaf meter, right? There is no deaf app on my phone to identify who's deaf, who's not." And that's when the deaf person went, "Oh, okay, I see. You have a point."
I like that, the deaf meter. It's like the
Maybe like an
ghost meters.
AI thing? Maybe sometime in the future we'll have some AI tech pop up.
Oh, AI is too scary. It's always in your business too. Oh, I don't want any of that. So we are going to take a break right now. Edgar, if you don't mind voice interpreting again.
Okay, so I've just requested that the interpreter interpret this next part. We're going to go ahead and take a short break. I hope you've had a very entertaining performance so far. We will resume back after the break shortly, okay? Remember, we are going to come back. We are not going to forget you. We can go ahead and turn off our screens, and we'll be back in 15 minutes. So let's say 7:10. Okay? We will have our flyer posted up until then, so please go ahead and take the time to go to the restroom, have a water break, etc., and enjoy your break. We'll be back in 15. Again, that'll be 7:10. Okay? All right. We'll see you guys soon. 7:10. Hello and welcome back after the break. I hope you all enjoyed the last 10 to 15 minutes of your break. Josh was saying, yes, the best I could. Mariel's saying, okay, perfect. Welcome back, everyone. Now we'll go ahead and have ourselves a round 2 of DHHSC's live show. I am super excited that we are also getting questions online, which is perfect. Now, just as a reminder, there is only voiceover today during the breaks, before and after the breaks, and at the end time too. So as soon as we're wrapping up, we'll have the interpreter voice one last time, and that'll be it. And again, just as a reminder too, if you would like a voiceover of today's show, please email lisap@dhhsc.org. That's lisap@dhhsc.org. And you will be provided with a voiceover in about a week or so to those who reach out. Again, just a friendly reminder. Reach out, and that's all I have to say for now. Enjoy the show.
All right. Let's get things rolling again. We have 2 new questions. So the first question is, do you all enjoy traveling? And do you prefer to travel solo? Do you prefer to have a companion, whether that be a hearing companion or a deaf companion? Or do you prefer to travel as a family or a group? Do any of you have any specific preferences? So alone, with a companion, or with a group? What are your thoughts? Joshua? I like all of those options. I don't get to travel much. I wish I did more. But it's expensive. Of course, everything costs money, right? It's hard. I don't know where my paycheck goes, so, right? It just disappears. There's so many bills to pay, everything. Okay. So I get nervous traveling solo because there's no one to help me out if I get stuck. There's so many factors, trying to figure out which areas are bad areas, which ones to stay away from. So I don't like traveling solo. I don't feel safe. If I were to travel with my family, I know we like to go camping together. So we do that. We've been out camping. We do also have a couple hearing friends who know sign language come with us. And that's nice because we're all able to communicate, but they're also able to alert us if they hear some kind of noise, some kind of animal. If someone's talking to us and we can't hear them, they're able to help explain those auditory factors that we might have missed. And I'm trying to imagine, if I were to travel with someone else, I'd want them to be hearing, because then they could help me with ease of communication. Because it obviously takes a long time to write back and forth everywhere, so if I have an interpreter with me, that makes communication much easier. Oh, thank you. Edgar? Oh, William. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I have something to add. So I'm used to living up in Northern California where there's a lot of nature out there, out in the countryside or in the mountainous areas. And my family and I would go camping from time to time. They'd show me where the safe territories are, where other territories are more dangerous, where mountain lions are usually at, or caves. So let's say a bear is in hibernation or where they live, that they'd point out the areas to me and warn me not to mess around in those areas. I remember one time too, as the sun was setting, we were setting up our tents. I was setting up alone on the ground, and my family did not want to set up on the ground. I was starting a fire. They did not like that. They ended up making kind of like a makeshift tree house up above. So either way, I don't mind in a group setting or alone. I remember during that time too, they they asked me if I had set up their makeshift tree house up there, and I was like, well, do you see it up there? So but again, there's a lot of paranoia with mountain lions, bears, etc. So you just do have to keep that in mind too. Some prefer to sleep on the ground, some in the trees. So again, you do have to kind of protect yourself, whether that be with a lighter or a blade, or get creative basically. So I know there's a lot of fear out there, but I'm used to going out in the wild from time to time, camping, and so I'm perfectly fine with it. I do like going with family, but it takes some convincing every now and then since they're a little bit hesitant with all the animals.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing. Yeah, some people know what to do, others don't. Yeah, Edgar, do you want to share?
Yes, so for me, I'd rather have a mix of both deaf and hearing individuals. I'd prefer to travel in a group. And also, it depends where too. So, let's say if we're going to Mexico, I'd much rather prefer to travel with family since my parents know where exactly it's safe, where should we avoid, etc. If it's by myself, I would very not much prefer that. I'd rather be with friends or family, just travel in a group just in general. That way we can share jokes back and forth. I feel like it's a much more fun time that way. I feel like if I were to travel alone, I'd be a little bit lost. I wouldn't know where to go. Would I be telling all these jokes to myself? So, yeah.
Well, thank you. From my experience, I would feel fine going to Mexico either alone or in a group with my family. Either way is fine with me. I have gone there several times, and I know the area because I have family that live there. So I've gone there alone. I've flown there by myself and had family pick me up and then ride the bus as well. So it doesn't really matter to me. But other countries, I don't know, maybe in Asia or Africa, I would be more hesitant to go alone. I would want someone to come with me.
I agree.
Because, then it's just more eyes being able to keep watch. Because if I'm looking one way and I'm alone, I don't know what's happening behind me. But if I'm with someone else, at least two people would be better. The more the merrier, though. And it doesn't matter to me if they're hearing or deaf. But I think it'd be better to have multiple people who can keep watch. So, And we'd be able to stick side by side the whole time. I wouldn't want anyone going off alone, and we'd be able to support each other and take care of each other in that way. But for Mexico, I can go alone because I have family there, I know the area, or I'll go with my family. Either way. Same here in America. I feel comfortable going either alone or with a group of people. All right, thank you everyone for sharing. Moving on to our second question. What are some hobbies that you all enjoy doing? Anyone care to share? You know, it's Deaf Awareness Month, so maybe some people are unaware of hobbies that deaf people enjoy. Who would care to share? Yeah, Joshua. I really enjoy just different kinds of hobbies. One of them is reading. I wish I read more. I'm trying to read more. Another hobby I enjoy is painting. Again, I only paint a little bit right now, but I hope to increase the amount of painting I do in the future. And my friends have helped encourage me and get me into painting as well. So that's been a process. It's been really nice. Additionally, I also really enjoy crafts. Putting things together, painting different pieces, and just building something new. I really enjoy working with my hands and creating. I don't like to just be idle because at work I do a lot of computer stuff, which is fine, but it's mentally challenging, but I don't get to work with my hands as much as I would like to. And so that is the way I learn best, is by touching all the different pieces and seeing where they fit in and organizing the patterns and creating something new. That's my favorite hobby. Great. I'll go next. My favorite hobby is reading. But I know that some people listen to audiobooks, and unfortunately, I cannot listen to audiobooks. I prefer to read, either on my Kindle or a hardcover or paperback copy. Again, I can't listen to audiobooks, so instead I physically read. I enjoy creating those mental pictures in my mind of the stories that I'm reading. Sometimes they're sad stories, sometimes they're tragedies, and they do still make me emotional too. But I understand what's going on in all of them, and I can make those mental pictures. It's just like if someone were to be talking to me, I wouldn't understand what they're saying, and I'd need them to write it out. But when I'm reading, I can form these mental pictures and experience all the emotions that the characters are experiencing. That's my hobby. William, Edgar?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. Edgar, did you want to say something?
Yes, crafts was mentioned earlier, and I also like working with my hands too. So let's say making car models, working with different car pieces, and I know it could be a challenge sometimes, but I do enjoy that. Card games in general too. Video games or online games. I really love doing that in my spare time as well. But going back to crafts, it was very interesting to find out that Joshua is also into crafts too. So maybe we can set something up
There
someday.
you go. Make something new together. Yeah, we could be friends.
I get you, Joshua. We'll keep in contact.
Oh, how funny. All right, We have another topic of discussion. So I am curious. I have a question for all of you. Have you ever dated someone, either being someone who is deaf dating a hearing person, or being a hearing person dating a deaf person, and experienced that cultural divide or any miscommunications because of deafness and their ability to hear or not? Yeah, Joshua, go ahead. I have dated a few hearing people. I've dated probably equal hearing people and deaf people. I am not someone who gets into relationships very frequently. If we click, then our relationship will last for a long time. But if we don't have that spark, then I'm not going to waste my time with that. So dating a deaf person is easier. We have that fluency in communication. There's no misunderstandings with communication access. We don't have to write back and forth. It's more rapid communication and it flows smoother. But in my experience with dating a hearing person, it was more challenging. There are so many hearing people that do not know sign language, and so I end up having to teach people some signs. And if I feel as though I'd like to share and teach those signs, then I'm willing to do it. And I'll teach them a little bit, a few signs, some basic introductions. Hello, my name is, I want food, little basic conversational things. And then it's on the hearing person after that. If they want to continue to learn ASL after that, so we can communicate, then that's great. But if they decide that they don't care to learn ASL and they would just rather write back and forth or try to have me read their lips and just keep talking at me, I'm not going to waste my time with that. But again, I have dated both hearing and deaf people. Well, thank you for sharing. Edgar, do you have an experience as an interpreter? Have you dated any deaf people?
I have not dated any deaf people.
Oh,
no.
Darn.
Yeah, darn.
We're trying to pull you to the deaf side.
No, I've only dated one hearing person, and that's it.
Ah, well, that's great. William, anything you want to share? Okay, never mind.
I'm a bit busy at the moment.
We have another question. It says, hello everyone. Do you all have any advice as to how to approach a deaf or hard of hearing person for the first time? So if you meet someone who is deaf or hard of hearing for the first time, how do you approach them? Do any of our panelists have any advice for that? Do you mind saying the question again? I don't understand. Okay, imagine that I am a hearing person and I'm meeting someone for the first time who is deaf. Do you have any advice that you would give to that hearing person who's meeting the deaf person for the first time? Anyone want to share? I can. Yes, Joshua. I know, I keep sharing. Okay. Anyways, my piece of advice would be to not be scared or shy. We don't bite. We might bark, I don't know, but we definitely don't bite. We're generally kind, and it's okay if you don't know sign language. We are willing to write back and forth. I know that writing is now kind of a thing of the past, and now people use a lot more technology, so you could also use your phone and type something out on your phone, and we could type back and forth. And don't yell at us from behind either. We're not going to be able to hear you, but you can gently tap us on the shoulder to get our attention and then type or write back and forth. That's how we could communicate. That's good advice. I like that. Also, just reiterating the point of if someone is behind me and they're talking at me, I'm not going to be able to hear them. So please just tap me on the shoulder. Edgar?
Yeah, I would recommend putting in that effort. So let's say typing back and forth on your phone or writing back and forth. I wish someone would have told me long ago, but unfortunately, I did not have that advice. I remember the first time meeting a deaf individual, I was thrown off. My mind just kind of came to a standstill. I was frozen. I did not know what to do. I remember feeling super nervous, and I was like, okay, let's do this. Time to roll up my sleeves. But the deaf person was like, well, okay, well, we don't have to take it that far. All we need is a pen and paper, old-fashioned pen and paper. That's it. Or we can just type out and use the computer that we have here. And so that really helped moving that monitor back and forth between us. And at that moment, I was like, oh, that's so embarrassing. Okay, right. Good idea. So I preferred using the computer at the time for my first time, and everything went smoothly. But again, don't get into your head.
That's good advice. You know, these are things that hearing people can learn from Edgar. William, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yes, is it advice for the hearing?
Well, you as a deaf person, if a hearing person were to come up to you, what advice would you give them on how to best interact with you to avoid a bad situation?
Oh, exactly what Edgar and Joshua said. Yes, I fully agree with them. I would say the same thing. But often I will see many hearing individuals not know what to do or get thrown off. So then I'll initiate the writing back and forth. So again, just be open-minded. Don't be thrown off. Don't be confused. It's okay, as long as you don't get rattled.
Right. My other piece of advice is please don't get super stressed out to the point where you give up on trying to communicate with a deaf person. For example, if someone is talking at me behind me, I am not able to know this because I can't hear them. And then if they get flustered and leave, that's disrespectful because they weren't willing to put in the effort to communicate with me. So instead, if they could just tap me on my shoulder, that is respectful. And so that's the advice that I want to give. Additionally, when a deaf person and a hearing person meet during an interaction, I would recommend that the hearing person be willing to take the pen and the paper and put in the effort to write back and forth, not trying to find someone else to talk through them. Just be respectful. We want to have that direct communication. Also, It's important to stay calm during the interaction. That way we can have a smooth conversation and not let it get too crazy. So try to be patient and put in the effort so then nobody gets hurt. And like you mentioned, we can also type back and forth, and it's important again to stay calm and not get flustered. We have to be patient during the communication process. We appreciate those who are kind and patient with us as we communicate with you. All right, now moving on, we have a small activity where I will pose a question and you let me know if you've had that experience or not by raising your hand if you have that experience. Did you all go to a deaf school? Who has gone to a school with all deaf and hard of hearing students? Have any of you gone? Edgar, you went to a school for the deaf?
No, just out of curiosity, I would like to. Oh, I see. Okay.
For your hearing.
Yeah, it's a unique experience, kind of like going to Hogwarts.
Right. Like in Harry Potter, in the wizarding world, all the wizards, they go to their school.
Right. No evildoers allowed in this school.
Right, and so all of the people with magical powers, the witches and wizards, go to Hogwarts. And in the same way, in California here, deaf students are able to go to a school for the deaf. So I see William and Joshua, you've gone to a school for the deaf. Edgar, not sure about you. Well, thank you. I also went to the school for the deaf. Let's see. Who has expert knowledge in 2 languages? Joshua, Edgar, William, kind of? Okay.
50-50.
Okay, we'll hold off on William for now. Edgar, what are your 2 languages that you know?
Well, I'd like to think I'm proficient in English.
Okay, English.
And it's hard to choose between Spanish and ASL.
Oh, so you have more than 2. You have 3. Oh my goodness,
Yes.
That's great. Joshua, what about you? I have 2. I have English and ASL. Awesome. And William?
I say a couple different languages.
4?
So English, ASL, BSL, British Sign Language, and LSM, Mexican Sign Language.
Wow.
Just a bit. I've been dabbling in a couple of languages here and there.
Wow. Expert. See, I have a little bit less expertise.
It's okay. Now you'll keep adding on. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Bit by bit.
maybe I can learn from you all.
Yeah, I can share some.
But I know English, not spoken English, but written English, I'm proficient in, and American Sign Language, of course. I know a little bit of LSM, Mexican Sign Language, and I'm building my proficiency in that. I can't read or write as much in Spanish. My mom is A little disappointed, but good. Moving on.
Oh, that's fine.
All right, again, our panelists, raise your hand if you have experienced this before. Have you experienced oppression? Raise your hand.
Oppression, as in?
Any kind of oppression. Anyone who has oppressed.
Yes.
Okay. Edgar?
I want to say yes, but nothing comes up in the moment.
Okay, so maybe. Okay, so I see yeses from pretty much everyone. I've experienced it as well.
Yeah, me too.
Raise your hand, those of you who pretend to nod along and understand when you don't really. I see some hands.
Yep.
Okay, me. Joshua. All of us do it.
Shame on you. Wow, the three of you work at the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Service Center. Come on now.
No.
I don't know.
Oh, stop it. Let's see, what else do I have?
You're funny, William.
All right, raise your hand. Who has either watched a video or a movie or been in a lecture where you're reading the captions, you're reading the PowerPoint slides, and you just nod off? Who's done that? Who is just fallen asleep watching the captions of a presentation or a video? No, not really.
I could say 50-50, more or less. Kind of like a so-so answer. It just depends on the lecture.
Okay. Edgar?
No.
Okay. I definitely have. Don't tell anyone. Let me see. What other questions do we have? Okay. So now, I would like for you all to share your experiences with oppression. Those of you who raised your hand, if you wouldn't mind sharing, please go ahead. Come on, don't be afraid. Step right up. Okay, Joshua.
Joshua could go first.
So I have witnessed oppression. It wasn't necessarily me being oppressed, but I've witnessed it with my parents being oppressed. So this was a while ago. We were at the store. I think we were at a food store, or no, it was a clothing store. My mom was with me. Oh, it was definitely a clothing store. I remember now, because we were back to school shopping for new clothes. My clothes that I had from the previous school year had some stains on them, some rips, some tears, so I needed to get new clothes for school. So we went shopping, my mom and I. We were in the store. We tried on different clothes, and then when we were finished, we decided it was time to go home and cook dinner. So the two of us walked to the line for the cash register. And we got in line. It was a pretty long line at the time, but we waited our turn. And finally, it was our turn, and the lady at the cash register started talking to my mom, and my mom was searching through her purse, so she didn't see that the woman was talking to her. And finally, the woman at the cash register says, "Go, get out of here." And I was just watching this interaction happen back and forth. And my mom was furious. She tried to explain that I'm just trying to pay for my clothes. I'm trying to get my credit card out so I can pay for these clothes, and I'm deaf. I can't hear you talking to me. And so the woman at the cash register goes and gets her manager. And the two of them come back, and my mom is still explaining, I can't hear you. I'm deaf. And I'm starting to get scared because of how mad and angry my mom is at this situation. So both the manager and the cashier are now trying to talk to my mom, and my mom says, hold on. And she writes out a note, a very long and angry note to the two employees. And all of the people in line are just watching this scenario play out. She finally shows them the note, and they read it. I didn't know what it said. And the manager and the cashier read the note, and they both look at me, and I'm looking back up at them. I don't fully understand what's happening right now. I asked my mom, why are you upset? And my mom says, hold on. So the two employees continue to read the note, and then the manager takes care of us and helps us with moving to a new cash register and checking us out and scanning all the clothes and helping us pay for our products. So then I walk out of the store and we get home, and I ask my mom, why were you so angry? Why was she telling us to go? And my mom said, well, what happened is because the line was so long, we had been waiting our turn, and because I had been searching for my credit card and taking a long time to get it out, they wanted to keep the line moving, and so they told me to go to the back of the line. And I just remember that story. Wow, that's some serious oppression. Trying to tell you to just go back to the end of the line and go through it twice? Right, because they wanted to just get through everyone. They didn't want to waste any time.
I see.
Wow. Yeah, that's frustrating. Very frustrating. Wow, thank you for sharing. It's good for people to be able to hear about these experiences and see them. Anyone else want to share?
No. Not
Okay,
at the moment.
no worries. We have another question from a viewer. Do you recommend that a hearing person who wants to be immersed in ASL go to events, and which events should they go to? That was pretty English. Do you mind signing that again? Oh, please. Get out of here. So, if a hearing person is learning ASL and they want to start socializing with deaf people, what kinds of events should they go to? Got it. Oh, that's better? Okay, now you can answer it. Come on, I keep going first. Someone else go first. Yes, William, Edgar,
not
go.
Me. Oh, me neither.
Why are you involved in ASL and the deaf community?
Why I got involved?
Mm-hmm.
Because, well, okay, so a little bit about me. I grew up with Spanish-speaking parents. So they're both from Mexico, and I grew up learning Spanish at home. When they came to California, they had some communication barriers with other individuals in the community. So I would step in and interpret for them. I'd go from Spanish to English, English to Spanish, and I'd cover many different conversations. We'd go back and forth, and I did like that. It felt very nice, very, I don't know, very satisfying helping my parents and seeing them smile. So as time went along, I would interpret for them for doctor's appointments, things that we'd get in the mail, etc. But I was thinking to myself, well, do I just want to end it there and only interpret for Spanish and English, or could I learn something else? And so that's when I started to do more research into different languages, foreign languages. But I saw that it's more common to have American Sign Language here compared to other languages like German or Japan. So I wanted to try it out. I took some ASL courses and I ended up falling in love. And that's how I'm here today.
And now you're here. You're fully immersed. Great. So now I will try to interpret the question for our deaf panelists to answer. So what would we as deaf people recommend to hearing people who want to get involved and immersed in American Sign Language? What do we recommend for them to do? Which events should they go to? My response is that I think they should go to larger events. For example, Deaf Expo, VDF, Valley Deaf Festival, any large events. Joshua? Yes, I think Valley Deaf Festival is a great opportunity. You'll see so many different signers. Why do you say VDF? Why do you suggest that? Well, you suggested it, not me. Well, you agreed with me.
Right, both of you suggested it.
Okay.
Yeah, help each other out.
Well, I suggested it because you would be able to see so many different deaf individuals and several different examples of signing. Some people sign incredibly fast, whereas others sign more casually, more slowly. There are just so many variations of signing styles. And so I recommend that if someone is interested in ASL, that they go to Valley Deaf Festival and see all these different signers. And there's slow signers as well. And also there are deaf children there with their parents who might be hearing, and you could see how they sign and communicate. There are several booths and vendors that you can interact with, and you'll be able to see a variety of signing styles and learn how to communicate and operate in the deaf community. We're normal just like all of you. So that is my reason for promoting Valley Deaf Festival. That's right. Anyone else want to add?
We agree.
All right. Well, thank you to our viewer for that question. That was a good one. I know that we have about 10 minutes left. We are going to wrap up at about 8 o'clock. So let me check my notes one last time. Okay, I have an idea. So, I'm going to throw out a couple different examples here, scenarios here. So if you're running from a wasp or a bee, or if you're driving a car and then you pull over and your phone falls out and you lose your phone, or if you need to make a 911 call. I know it's Deaf Awareness Month right now, so I would like you all to share, when do you use your voice and when do you not use your voice? What activities and situations influence your decision to use your voice or not? So for example, how do you call 911? Do you pick up the phone and talk to someone? Because we can't talk on the phone.
Well, we can always use text to communicate with a police officer
Oh, text.
or use our notes app.
Yeah, it's a new service.
So we don't necessarily have to communicate over the phone.
Oh, I didn't know that. Something I learned. Okay, what about other ways? What about a video phone? Can we call 911 using a video phone? We can use video relay service.
Yeah, VRS.
Right, so we are hooked up with an interpreter and then we're able to sign and communicate. Let them know our address so they are able to find us.
Right.
Yeah. Do we want to do anything else? Do we want to do any more skits? Acting something out? What? Yeah, do we want to act something out? Something for Deaf Awareness Month? Sharing the importance of deaf awareness?
Come up with something?
Well, maybe we could talk about the difference between a deaf school and a hearing school. Are they the same? No. No. Why not? I thought they're both schools. Well, in a hearing school, in a mainstream school, it is filled with hearing children and maybe 1 or 2 deaf students. So it's very hard for them because there's usually only a few interpreters, maybe even 1 interpreter, and they are interpreting all of the classes and programs and ensuring communication access with all of the teachers. There are so many people that are hearing at that school and only 1 or 2 deaf students. And also, the hearing teachers don't spend as much time with their students, conversing with them. At least that's been my experience. However, at a deaf school, there is communication access everywhere because everyone knows American Sign Language. You can engage in conversation with everyone. You're able to catch various conversations that you're maybe not even a part of, and you have full access to all the information around you. It's really nice. Because we can't hear anything at a hearing school, and so we look around and we see people's mouths moving, but we don't know what's going on. Perfect. Thank you for sharing. I also have a funny story and experience that I can share. As a college student, I took a class and there were only 2 deaf students in the class. It was myself and my friend. We took the class together, and it was for a math requirement. But understand that the teacher and the rest of the students in the lecture hall were all hearing. One day, I broke my foot, which meant that I had to use a wheelchair in order to get around. My friend, who was deaf, helped me by pushing me around and helping me get from class to class. But that math class was on the 2nd story of the building, which meant that I had to take the elevator. My friend was pushing me, and when we were about to enter the class, the door swung open, and then I was struggling to get through the doorway, and all of the hearing students turned and looked at me. Just stared at me, and I was embarrassed, and I was trying to wiggle my way through the door frame, but They all knew what was going on immediately because they could hear me coming down the hallway and the door slamming open, and their eyes just immediately darted to me. And so I'm just imagining how hearing people are able to just immediately turn and see the direction in which the sound is coming from, and how that's different than in a deaf school. Because usually in a deaf school, if that same situation were to happen, only one person would be looking towards the doorway, and then everyone else would be looking in the direction then they would look in the direction that that one person is looking. So it's more of a chain of events rather than everyone looking at the door at the same time. All right, we'll have the interpreter come back on now.
All right, welcome back to my interpreter. Okay, for the last time, the interpreter will, I just got another question in the YouTube comment section. One of the questions was, could you elaborate on one of your questions? Now, how often does that happen in real life? Or when do we have lives, excuse me, when do we have lives from the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Service Center? Well, you can check out Deaf and Hard of Hearing Service Center.org or DHHSC.org. Again, you can see future events under the events tab, and then that'll show you whenever we'll have a live or an in-person event, and as to where to. Whenever you do want to join in our live streams on YouTube, please feel free to reach out. I am happy that every single one of you interacted with us today and or enjoyed the performance. Thank you so much. And again, as a friendly reminder too, we have not had this interpreted so far. However, if you would like a voiceover, please contact Lisa P at dhhsc.org. If you do have any comments, questions, or concerns, please reach out, and we're more than happy to respond to your emails. We always want to improve our service here at DHHSC, so please contact us, and we'll try to be better next year. Thank you for your time. It is now 8, and so with that, we'll say good night to each and every one of you.